Yo, hello YouTube. It's Friday. It is Friday the 8th of September. Yesterday it was about 8:15, and it was quite dark, and I realised autumn is upon us. So it's downhill in terms of the length of the days now until the winter. The weather today has been really hot again, so we've still got a good opportunity to get some work in, which is in good conditions. But I haven't done this job yet in the winter, although I have done a job that's very similar to this, and I think it's going to be a very different kettle of fish when it's raining and icy and wet and dark. But I'm prepared for it. Anyway, let's make the most of it. So today, I'm going to tell you what I've done today. I haven't got an awful lot of messages to share in terms of my learnings today. I've had an interesting day, as always, and then I'll tell you my weekly figures at the end. So let's get on with it. Right, this morning, if you watched my video for yesterday, you'll know what happened this morning, but if you didn't, I didn't have a job. I wasn't going to work today, and so I just decided to have a day off. And then I thought, oh, I'll look at the jobs, because if there's anything really close to me, I'll pick up a job and go to somewhere local, and if there's not, I won't do a job. Almost sort of baiting the CX system to give me a great job, and hoping in some ways it didn't. But in inverted commas, unfortunately, I got two very local jobs to me come up. So I bid on them both, same amount of money, £150, 150. And they were both, I think, for large wheelbases. I got calls for both of them. They both said they had to get back to me from the customer to check the price is all right. And I said to myself that I would pick up the job that came first as a confirmed job, although one of them I would prefer than the other one. And as it was, the one I preferred did come back first, and I picked up their job going from Spalding area to Chessington. And so the first thing I did, which I didn't want to do, was go to London. So that's Chessington, London. The other one was going to North London, so I didn't really have a choice to avoid London if I was going to do any work today. But I realised that it was an opportunity. They wanted a large wheelbase, a long wheelbase van, and I bid £150, 150 for 137 miles. And yeah, got it, picked it up, and I picked it up at let's just double check. Just 5 to 10 I arrived. It was a bit awkward getting it on. It was an oversized pallet, so they had to sort of be very careful putting it on. By the time I strapped up and left, it was 10:10. So I took that load down to Chessington. It was a really long, as in long time. It was about 3 hours, 3.5 hours journey because of the traffic, I think. I got on site at 1:20. So that's what, 10, 11, 12, it's 3 hours and 10 minutes from when I left the pickup. And I want to tell you a little lesson that I experienced kind of for the first time, but for the first time that I was aware of it, I suppose. And I want to talk you through what happened on my drop-off and tell you what I did and what I would do next time. So, a bit of context. The pallet was, the load was oversized for the pallet, so it overhung the pallet either side. And when they put it onto my van, they managed to lift it up with the forklift, and it stayed balanced, and they put it on, and it was all fine. It was big enough to fit on my van, and I tied it all down, no problems at all. I was very careful with it, and secured it with 2 straps, one across the front and one across over the top, with my edging corners as well. So it's very well secured, and it's very well packaged as well. So to be fair on the manufacturer, it's a well packaged item, and it's metalwork. And I took it down to Chessington, and when I first arrived, I found it very easily, the place I was delivering to. But the first thing I noticed was when I got to the goods in and rang the bell, no one came. And when someone came, I passed him, I said, hello, passed him paperwork, I've got one pallet for you, I said, and he took it off me like I was ruining his day. And he took a piece of paper off me and didn't say much and went off. He said something, mumbled something, and I didn't really hear what he said. And he's just quite rude, but I just put it down to him being very hot. There was air conditioning on in the warehouse. Obviously, I was just getting in the way of his day. So I didn't take it personally, but I just noticed it. And then I got my van opened and I got the load unstrapped. And then the forklift driver came, who was a different person. And I said to him before he got it on, just to make you aware, this is an oversized load. Just be careful when you take it off that it's balanced, or it doesn't come off. And again, he was quite surly, and he said something I didn't really understand what he said. He may have been foreign, but he may just have been mumbling. It was hard to tell. So I just I stood there with my paperwork to be signed, and usually what they do is they take the pallet off and they sign your paperwork, and then they go into the warehouse. So this guy, just in a quite grumpy way, I would say, from my perspective, got my pallet off, put it on the floor. I took a photo of it on the floor. This is important to my story. And then I stood there with my paperwork for him to sign. He backed up the forklift around to the side of the pallet, and then he came in to lift up the pallet from the side, which would have made a lot of sense in terms of the way it was balanced. But he knocked the load, and it shifted on the pallet by about, I would say, 2 inches at an angle. So it was a reasonably hefty hit. It wasn't just a little nudge, a little kiss, as it were. It wasn't a crash, but it was definitely moved the load within its wrappings. And I just let him get on with it. He reversed, put the forks down, picked up the pallet and took it to the warehouse. I then went and stood at the warehouse and asked him to sign my paperwork, which he then did do. And then I thought, oh, what if that's damaged? I could get the loan for this, or the shipper could get the loan for this. So I was doing the invoice on the system, on the CX system, and at the end it had a section for notes, and I kind of wasn't quite sure what to write. So I decided that I wouldn't write anything at this point, but I would ring the shipper and just let him know what happened. So I created I uploaded the pod. I tried to create the invoice, but for some reason this week my app isn't letting me do that. So I'm going to have to wait till I get home to create the invoice. But then I immediately, before I left the site, I rang the shipper and explained to him that my photo of the load that's on the CX system, unloaded, was taken just prior to it being knocked by the forklift driver. And that if the customer was to come back on us, that would be the reason for any damage to the load. And so I said this to the shipper, and I said, can you make a note of that? And he said he would call his customer immediately to update them. So I thought that was probably a good solution, that, you know, as soon as it happened, he's going to tell the customer. So I didn't feel I needed to write a note in at this point. So I think, in hindsight, I did the right thing, because I was able to talk to the shipper, talk him through what had happened, and he could then make a decision about what to do next. And in this case, it was to contact the customer. So almost like to preempt any issues in the future. Now, if I'd just written a note on, there's no guaranteeing the shipper would have read the note. And if they had read it, they might not have got the whole context from the notes that I've written. So I do think, actually, me telling the shipper was definitely the right thing to do. Next time, I'd probably do both. I'd write a little note, so that there's a clear note on the CX system from my point of view forever, and I'd also ring the shipper. And what I've learned from this is, actually, the shipper knowing immediately is really useful for everyone, for the shipper and for the driver. So I suppose that's what I want to share with you, is if I think that happens and it could come back on you, call the shipper and explain immediately, straight. You know, as soon as it happens, you've got then a record of what's happened, actually almost live, rather than relying on memory, which is fallible. Right, so now, once I did that, I wanted to find another job, and I was in Chessington, near London, and I wanted to get back up home, really. So guess what I bid on? There was 3 jobs within 5 minutes of where I was. I happened to be in Surbiton. I was like 5 minutes from Surbiton, and I got 3 jobs come up. 2 of them I think were exactly the same, and one was a slightly different one. And I bet bids on all of them, and I got a call back quite quickly. Oh no, actually, sorry, before I do that, sorry, no, I missed something out. Literally, when I was getting my paperwork signed at my last pickup, I had a phone call come through. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, I'm always very thankful. A national shipper called me, just out of the blue, offering me a job for Monday. And it's a local branch of a national shipper. And they explained to me they wanted to have a long wheelbase job done on Monday. And it's going from Peterborough, no, going from Chatteris, P16, to, I think it was London Way. I can't quite remember where. Somewhere I didn't really want to go to, but I would have taken the job. And it was about 116 miles. So I very quickly worked out what that would be for me to do that. And I gave them a price of £130, which I thought was really reasonable for a long wheelbase job going towards London, you know, booked in advance for Monday. But that was too much for them. They wanted to do £1 a mile. Now, I think £1 a mile for a long wheelbase job is too cheap, particularly for the first job, your main job of the day. If you're trying to book this ahead for a Monday, you can't be getting it at backload rate, which I would say £1 a mile for a long wheelbase, I think, is a backload rate. Obviously, we have differing opinions on this, me and this shipper, and and when they tried to bring me down, I just said to them again, I think it's a fair price that I'm offering. I'm sure you'll find something cheaper, because we won't go anywhere. Thank you for the call. And that was it. They put the phone down. So it's just another example of trying to be, the price trying to be reduced. But this time they called me out of the blue. So I'm glad I didn't get it, because I didn't really want to go to London on Monday, and I got a better job on Monday. So to you, national shipper. Yeah, so I was going to, so my next job, I won the job going from Surbiton to a place called Hassocks, I think it is. Double check. It was south anyway. And Hassocks, and then so it's got BN Brighton postcode. I didn't realise it was quite so close to Brighton, but it was, you know, about 10 miles from Brighton, maybe not that much. So I got that job. I was 5 minutes from pickup, literally. No, sorry, I was 10 minutes from pickup. Oh, let me say that again. I used the word literally. I was literally 8 minutes from the pickup. That is the truth. So I said to them 10 minutes, just to give you a bit of time. And I got there just as they were able to put on all the details onto the CX system. So really, very few dead miles, really good turnaround into the time. And I got there and I was loaded and ready to go at 2 o'clock. And it was just a few boxes. So it's a small van job, and to give you the mileage on the system, 42 miles. I bid my minimum price of £50, and got that going down to Hassocks. So I took those boxes down. It's to a residential address. I got there and got offloaded it by 3:10. And now I thought that would be it. I thought I'd have no other opportunity for a job. I knew I had to get some fuel, I had to get some food. So I was looking for jobs, and I expected to go home empty. But then a job came up, which wasn't very close to me, but it wasn't too far. It's Shoreham-by-the-Sea, or Shoreham-by-Sea, going to a place called Snodland, which is near Maidstone. that sort of area. So it took me from the south coast up to London, sort of Dartford area, Kent, North Kent, which was a third of the way back home from where I was. And that I put on a bid of £70. It was for a small wheelbase, no, for a small van, and it was for 68 miles. Got that really quickly. Made my way down to Shoreham. It said 5 o'clock pickup. I was, by the time I did all my been to the shop, I got there at 4:30. I went to the door. It's a residential address, and I knocked on the door and said, "I'm early, just let you know I'm here." And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm already." He just gave me a bag. So it was a bag to take from his address to another residential address. Really easy. Got loaded up, did my paperwork, and made my way a bit earlier than expected up towards Maidstone. And then when I got to that address, I arrived and I reversed into the residential sort of off-road parking, and there was a guy. I parked in front of a car. A guy got out of the car and he walked straight to the house that I was about to deliver to. So he'd arrived literally minutes before I'd arrived. I got there at 6 o'clock. Was off the site by 6:05. So yeah, really good. So that was that. I was there for quite, well, reasonably close to home, 140 odd miles from home, and I had got another job, and so I then got some diesel, which has updated my average figures, and then I'm now about to go home from near Dartford, about to cross the bridge. So let me give you some figures. Oh, before I do that, one other thing, little thing that I've had to deal with this today is my insurance, no claims bonus proof. So for those of you who are new, when your insurance is renewed, one of the things you have to prove is whatever no claims discount you've accrued, and you can only get that confirmation after your existing policy has ceased, because then when it's ceased, your old insurer will send you an email or a letter proving what your no claims bonus is for that year. But obviously you have to put in place your new insurance before your one ceases, on the same day it ceases. So there's a week or two, it should be a week really, where you're kind of waiting for documentation to come to you from your old insurer to give to your new insurer. Now, this is what I've learnt about that. I rang my old insurer before my policy ended and said to them, I'm going to go somewhere else. Please can you authorise or get ready my no claims bonus discount, no claims bonus proof for when my policy ends. And they said yes, they would do that. My policy ended on Friday, and then on the Monday I rang in to my existing insurer and said, I haven't yet received my no claims discount, can you please send it to me? And they said, this is the broker. My broker said that my old insurer hasn't sent it through to us yet, so I have to wait till they do that. And I confirmed them, how will I get it? They said by email. So I said, oh okay, I'll wait for an email to come through from you then. And apparently that was what was going to happen. Fast forward to today, which is, I think it's 2 weeks since my insurance ended. It's Friday today, isn't it? So 2 weeks. And I rang them, and when I rang them, my broker, I asked them for my no claims discount. She said, oh yeah, I sent it to you by email. And so she sent it to me there and then. And so what I learned is, you can't get your no claims bonus proof until the insurer sends it to the broker. But in my case, the broker wasn't going to send it to me until I asked for it. So I had to effectively keep ringing them, not knowing when they received it, so that they would then give it to me. I just thought that when they received it, they'd pass it on to me. And surely any efficient business would just do that. You don't have to be... why should I have to call them to get something that was in their possession that they knew I wanted? And I know, it's just little niggles that these things happen. Insurance companies deal with that's just about little deals about this job that come up, and this is about insurance companies being quite ineffective. Just as a driver, you've got to deal with this sort of thing over and over again. Now, I've dealt with it. I've passed on my notice bonus proof to my new insurer. Hopefully that's going to be fine now. Hopefully I've got it. And I'm not saying it ruined my day or it's ruined the job. It doesn't. The job is brilliant. But I think what the benefit of me doing this kind of video is that on a daily basis I can kind of recognise those little niggly bits that I would otherwise not realise, and I can then share them with you new guys who don't know anything about this, and just pre-warn you that when you're coming up to this end of insurance bit, you chase your broker for the notice discount. Don't assume that they're going to give it to you off the top of your head, off their own back. Maybe they will, but if they don't, you know what to do now. So I think that's the context is it's a little thing, doesn't spoil my day, but I wanted to share it. Right, let's go through some stats now then. So today I have got the following figures for you. By the time I get home, I will have done 399 miles exactly. I will have worked for 11 3/4 hours, and because I've just filled up with fuel a moment ago, I've now got a new average for this week. It's 15.89 pence per mile that I drive, and so my cost of fuel, excluding VAT, is £63.39 for today. My earnings for today was 3 CX jobs, so £150 going from Spalding to Chessington, and then from Surbiton, which basically was the same place, going to Hassocks was £50, and then £70 going from Shoreham by Sea up to Snodland, or I'm going to call it near Maidstone. So £270 gross, and that means after fuel I've earned £207 today. I'm about to cross the Dartford crossing, so I've added on £3 for tolls, so make that £204 as my total earnings after fuel and tolls for today. Right, this has been an interesting week. I just want to remind you that my Monday was an epic day in terms of the amount of hours I did and also the amount that I earned. And that meant that Tuesday I just literally offloaded my van and went home. I didn't really work for the rest of the day. And then I also had yesterday off after I've offloaded my stuff in High Wycombe on the night on Wednesday, and I stayed there or near there overnight just in case I got a job, but nothing came up. So really I included the figures for that video by the time I got home, the mileage the next morning, but I really didn't really work Thursday. So I would say that I've made it 4 days work this week. But to be fair, I think that's one massive day that really involved 2 days effort, and then 2 other normal days, if that makes sense. So what are the figures for this week then based on that? I've driven a lot of miles compared to last week, 1,815. It's not the most I've done by any means. I've done over 2,000 a couple of times. My number of hours worked this week is 47.5 hours. I have made gross £1,510 pounds. My fuel is quite expensive for this week because it's the fuel price going up and quite a lot of miles. So it's £288.34, £288. My net earnings after fuel are therefore £1,222, 1222. My earnings per mile driven are 67.31, and then my average daily earnings after fuel for the 4 days is £305.42, and my average hourly earnings after business costs of £80 per day are taken out is £18.98. So for the last 2 weeks I've made over £18 an hour, but I don't really care about that figure. I don't really care about any of the figures apart from my average daily amount after fuel, because I have a target for that of £250, 250. If I make over that or close to that, that's all I'm really focused on. And looking back at the last few weeks, in the last 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, so the last 3 months, I haven't made target on 4 occasions, so I made it 8 times out of the 12. And on one of those occasions, I didn't make very much at all. I made less than £200. Every other time, I was over £225. The other 3 times. So I kind of am consistently making my target. Again, I'm very mindful that this is the great time of year to working. I do think with August bank holiday having passed, September seems to be quite busy on the CX. I think it's going to be busy September, October, November, possibly December. I don't know. I think it will be. I'm confident it will be. So I'm confident we've got 3 months of good amount of work coming, and I know what I'm doing. That's the main thing. I now know how to do this job. So that was the point of me starting in March. One of the reasons was I wanted to give myself 6 months to get used to the job, so that when it was the good paying part of the year, I could utilise that. But also I didn't want to start too early, so that I was starting when it was really tight, January, February. March, I suppose, wasn't really that good either, but I think I'd start at some point. So I missed the very quiet January, February, and I got my learning in March, April, May sort of time, and then sort of last 3 months, I would say I've kind of utilised that learning and been making my target. I do need to keep on going until Christmas, and I need to probably have some surplus in place for next year. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. Also, well, remember, today, actually, it's the 8th, isn't it, today? I'm pretty sure this is my 6th-month anniversary. I think I started on the 7th of March, seems to come to mind. So what I'll probably do is I'll do a 6-monthly summary of my expenses, probably tomorrow or Sunday, just a short video to tell you what I've spent in the first 6 months, and that might be quite useful if you're new, so you'll get some idea as to what it costs to do this business. Yeah, so I think that's probably worth doing at this point. 6 months for the update on my expenses, and I suppose my income as well. Yes, I do the income as well. Right, thank you very much for listening. I'll get myself home now, and I'll definitely do my paperwork tomorrow, or if not, Sunday, because I'm getting behind and it's stressing me out. But another good day on the road. It's getting dark, isn't it? You can see now, it's getting dark now. So this is autumn. It's 7:30 at the moment. Right, have a great weekend. What have you learnt today?